So, I have a similar problem to my father. It's called avoiding confrontation. I'm not a big fan of confrontation. When somebody is screaming or something like that, maybe a disabled person, I hate confrontation getting there and saying, hey, you can't scream at this guy for being crippled, or you need to stop beating this guy's head in and caving it in, he's almost dead, or, those are very hard for me to get myself going and get in between it to save that person's life, but I do it. So I understand it's very hard for a lot of people to deal with confrontation. But that's part of why I'm in this spot today. My parents, one of them was acting totally bonkers, doing a lot of damage. Meanwhile, the other was avoiding confrontation, avoiding responsibility, and trying to just let their life keep on going as it is. They didn't want their life being held up by this, and I understand that, but you can't let this stuff continue. And that's why I am hurt today. That's why I shake. That's why for 25 years I've had problems with moving my body, numbness, a lot of pain going down my spine. I called it lightning, taser feeling. Without a proper diagnosis, I don't have better words for you. But it spasms down my spine, I guess you could call it too. But part of that is because people didn't want to confront the person who was doing it to me. And that could have happened at any time. Confrontation could have happened at least 40 different occasions, but didn't. It also has to do with some of the older generation wanting to hold on to what they have. A lot of people who have earned a lot of money or have built their life up with this system that was better then but not great now, and they see how things are harder now, they don't want to give up what they worked for. They don't want to have any problems in their lives. So if just walking away and ignoring it will make it so it's not there. But that's not true. The problem will still be present and it will still come back to you. You can't just avoid your problems. You can't just ignore what's going on around you. Avoiding confrontation and avoiding what's doing right, that's not right. And I do know for sure that when I pass away, I'll have to confront my deeds and all I've done in life. Now, who's going to confront God about what they did to me? I know a couple people that probably already are. And this is the problem. People wait too long to deal with a life-threatening issue. 25 years I've been dealing with this, trying to get somebody to listen, and I've only got maybe 20 people to take it seriously, and those are the people who see me all the time. They see the struggles. They see me in pain. People can't believe how self-centered my family is, but that's only because they don't realize the full story. Once when you look at it from the beginning to end, you realize, oh, you had one person who had a bunch of alcohol, drug, and mental illness, putting it onto the child, twisting him, drugging him. But why didn't other people speak up? I mean, if this was happening for 25 years, you would think the state would speak up. You would think the father would speak up. You would think the family would speak up. And that's when you go, well, they did. Whenever a doctor started to catch on, or whenever I spent too much time in one place, I was moved around. That's why a lot of the states didn't pick it up right away. My brother and family, they were picking it up and they were speaking up, but they were speaking up to my father. They weren't going to the state, they weren't going to the doctor's office, they were going to my father. The problem with that is he was already aware of this and he's trying to ignore it. So any excuse that he could use to blame it onto the child or ignore the whole situation, oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. That's what he would say to my brother, that's what he would say to his grandson. Would come up with excuses not to, tackle the situation, not address what was going on. So yeah, there was plenty of people who knew about this and was speaking up. But you gotta also keep in mind the person who did this to me knew she did it. I would go up to her and talk to her about this. I would ask her, why did you do what happened that night? Why are you doing this to me? What did you do during my adoption? Why am I unconscious? Why are you acting like this? This is crazy. You need to stop acting crazy. And then she would go up a notch and I would get hurt more. And also, she was trying to avoid responsibility. So you got to remember, she was actively doing stuff to make it harder for me to come out with this, like moving me around the country, trying to get psychological doctors not to believe me, making excuses like it's an allergy, it's a coordination issue, putting me in ballet instead of bringing me to a neurologist. Now, this person used to be a nurse, so she was very aware that when somebody has these reactions, you should bring them to the emergency room. But I was never brought to the emergency room. She knows very well that these medications have side effects, and you need to read the side effects and report these side effects to the doctor. But yet, my side effects and my complaints went on empty ears. The worse I got, the doctors never seemed to do anything about it, and that's because all my complaints, all my side effects would be doubled. I say, oh my God, I'm not feeling so good. I'm waking up with hangovers. I'm drowsy during the day. My heart's beating very weird. I have depression. I have suicidal thoughts. And what would they do? Would they try to address these side effects? No. My mother would double down the medication, ask for more medication, and then I would have more side effects. And this was a way for them not to catch on the real problem. There's a real problem at hand. I'm having trouble speaking. I'm having trouble moving. I'm bumping into things. When fireworks go off, I drop to the ground. My body's numb. I can't quite feel my nerve endings. There's a lot of problems there. But instead of handling that with a neurologist, she was handling it with mental drugs and then not reporting the side effects. The reason for that is I already spoke up at my primary care in front of my mother. I already told her, hey, I'm having this problem. I'm having this lightning feeling. I can't move my body. And this night, something happened. I kept on saying that to her. I know something happened this night. What happened that night? And she would say it was an allergy attack and to not speak about it. And then, so because I kept on speaking up about it, she knew eventually somebody would listen, so she had to come up with some plan to keep Social Security for me, keep that going, but also make sure that she can explain how, oh, I have all these things wrong with me. And because mental illnesses can't be proven or disproven, that was a good way for her to do that. So, just drug me, make me look crazy, get me on a bunch of drugs, then she doesn't have to take responsibility for her actions. And this continued for many years. Now, I drugged myself after like 15 or 16. I have to admit that I was being drugged for about 10, maybe more years. And then I took some drugs on my own for another 6 to 8 years. And I'm sure that my drug abuse didn't help. It did help me in the moment. My alcohol was caused by this disorder. I would drink, it would get better, and then it would be worse the next day. I would drink, it would get better, it would be worse the next day. And while I was homeless, that was my main problem, alcohol. But I also would take benzos, and I did dabble in opiates here and there. So I do take full responsibility for that. But I can't take any responsibility for causing this neurological disorder. This started at 7. I know when it started, and I now fully understand what did it to me. And if nobody wants to help deal with that, I can't twist their arm and make them be a good person. They'll just have to watch their son die a slow and painful death that they were part of. And this is what it is. No matter if the doctors want to listen or not, no matter if they want to chalk it up to Patricia's big mental illness scam, I'm not going to repeat and try to get Social Security with lies. If I go into Social Security, I will tell them the truth and nothing but the truth. And that's all I can do. If people don't want to help me after hearing the truth, that's nothing I can do about that. All I can keep on doing is speaking up about the truth, speaking up what happened to me, and moving forward. But I have a lot of barriers in front of me that were put there. I have all this crazy mental health stuff that doesn't make sense. I have documents going to like 6 different states. I have other diagnoses that can be used to help, like a coordination issue. I have statements that were made by my mother calling this allergies, not bringing me to the emergency room when these happen. We got a lot of documents like that that could help, but I can't get those. I don't even know the doctors' names when I was a child. I called my father, and he tells me he knows none of the doctors and not a single doctor's name that I grew up seeing. Not a single one. They can't give me anything to work with. Nothing. So I can't even find these doctors' names or addresses to try to get my own medical records. That's a whole nother barrier. How do I figure out what the doctors I saw's name was, and how do I get my own medical records from them? There's also another barrier. I can't drive until I fix this. Until I fix my neurological disorder, I can't drive. I've had 3 cars, I've had learner's permits, but until I fix the shakes of my hands and arms, I will not be able to be behind a wheel. Now, to fix this neurological disorder, I might need transportation. I might need a car. So that's a whole nother barrier as well. There's also the barrier of where I'm living. I need to have an address and I need to have a phone to continue trying to fix this. If I am too disabled to work, if something happens to me more severe and I can't get better or get myself back again, then I lose the ability to even see doctors. I lose the ability to even get around. And not just that, when it gets cold, like 9 months a year, I can't move. My nervous system locks up, I can't talk, I get stuck on the side of the road. So it could take me a week just to get to my doctor's office from my house. Even though normally it should only take an hour walk, I might have to post up in the woods a bunch of times. And I did have to live like that for quite a while. It was really bad. I was living in the woods and I was doing rounds with helping out elderly people. Sometimes they would offer me to stay there, but I wouldn't ask really. I didn't like asking people for money or this stuff. I would just do good deeds for them. And then they would ask me, hey, where are you staying tonight? And I would say, in the woods. No, 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 we've seen you shake. How can you shake? You have problems in the morning. Come stay here for the night. And that's just how it was. One thing I learned as a child is you don't steal from people, even if they steal from you. I thought because people were stealing from me, that makes it all right. Tit for tat. Somebody steals all your stuff, you steal it back, back and forth. I had to learn that it doesn't matter how much people steal from you, you can't steal back. You have to just catch them on camera. You have to try to address the issue in a different way. You can't just, they stole $100 bill from you, so you go to their house and steal $100 plate. You can't just do that. That's not how you handle it. Tit and tat never works. You can't do something good by doing something bad. And so I learned that lesson many, many years ago. So that's one thing to keep in mind too. This tit for tat stuff going on, the vindictive behaviors, it never helps. It never helps anybody. So it's very, very important to keep in mind what your actions can do. I'm sure that what my mother did to me is why I'm suffering now. I am paying for another person's actions. How do I move forward? Prayer, ask for strength, keep asking for help, and speak the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.